If you're in e-commerce, you know there's one question that hangs over everything. Are you really making money? It's this puzzle that can keep you up at night, right? You're looking at all those sales numbers, but you still feel kind of unsure about your actual profit. Well, today, we're going to solve that puzzle and get you some real clarity.
So let's just jump right in with a slightly terrifying question. Could your most popular, best-selling products actually be costing you money? It sounds crazy, but it's such a common trap. You're super busy, you're shipping out hundreds of orders, but if the margins aren't right, all that hard work might be for nothing.
And this really gets to the heart of a huge myth in e-commerce. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of a high sales volume. I mean, who doesn't love seeing those numbers climb? But that number all by itself can be incredibly deceiving. What's absolutely crucial is understanding the difference between the money coming in and the actual profit you get to keep.
So that brings us perfectly to our first section, really digging into the difference between just making sales and earning true profit. This is all about learning to separate the busy work from the work that actually builds your business.
Because here's the real challenge, right? Without the right data, it feels almost impossible to know which of your products are your true heroes. You could be pouring all your time and marketing money into an item with a razor-thin margin, while some other, quieter product is secretly your most profitable one.
So, how do we get that data? How do we find out what's really going on? Well, it turns out we need one simple but incredibly powerful tool to get that clarity on our business's financial health. And that tool is the profit margin. Seriously, this is the one metric that cuts through all the noise. It tells you exactly how much money you're making on every single sale. It just completely eliminates all the guesswork.
You know, a good way to think about it is like this. It's your business's own personal financial health checker. Just like a checkup at the doctor spots potential problems, your profit margin helps you spot those underperforming products. It makes sure you aren't accidentally selling stuff at a loss, and it gives you a crystal clear picture of what's working.
Okay, so let's get to the practical part. How do you actually calculate your margin? And don't worry, this is not going to be complicated at all. We're going to break it down into a super simple formula that anybody can use.
Here it is, just 4 simple steps. First, you take your selling price. Easy enough. Then, and this is key, you subtract all your costs, and I mean all of them. The cost of the product, shipping, any marketplace fees, you name it. What's left over is your profit in dollars. Then, to get that magic percentage, you just divide that profit by the original selling price. Let's walk through a quick example.
All right, let's imagine you're selling a product for a nice round $100. That's our starting point. That's the money that's coming in the door from your customer.
Now, let's say after you add up the cost of the item itself, the shipping, and any platform fees, your total cost to sell that thing is $60. That's the money going out. So, simple math, right? 100 minus 60 leaves you with $40. That's your profit in cash, the real money you've earned. But to really understand how healthy that sale is, we need to turn that into a percentage. And to get there, we just take that $40 profit and divide it by the original $100 selling price. And boom, you get a 40% profit margin. This number is what tells you exactly how healthy this product is for your business. Which, of course, leads us to the next big question. Okay, you've got your number, but is it a good number? What should you even be aiming for? So, what's a good target? Well, it definitely varies by industry, but this chart gives us a really solid benchmark. Most successful e-commerce businesses are aiming for that sweet spot right in the middle. A healthy margin somewhere between 20% and 40%. Anything below 20% can get pretty risky, and if you're hitting above 40%, well, that's fantastic. But knowing your margin isn't just about giving your products a grade, it's about taking action. So how can we actually use this number? Well, it becomes a powerful tool for making way smarter pricing decisions. I'm telling you, this simple little calculation is your secret weapon. It empowers you to stop guessing and start making truly strategic decisions. Now you can play around with different price points and instantly see how they're going to impact your bottom line. And this is where you see that classic balancing act. You could lower your price, and maybe you'll get more sales, but each one of those sales brings in less actual profit. On the flip side, if you raise your price, you might make fewer sales, but you could hit your overall profit goal way faster. Analyzing your margin is how you find that perfect sweet spot. Okay, last section. Now that you know how to calculate your profit margin and how to use it, how can you actively improve it? Let's look at some real, actionable steps you can take to boost your bottom line. Here are 4 really powerful strategies to start with. So on the cost side, you can try to negotiate better deals with your suppliers or maybe buy in bulk to get discounts. You can also hunt for ways to optimize your shipping. That's often a huge hidden expense. And then on the revenue side, armed with your new data, you can now strategically raise your prices on products that can support it.
And you got to remember, you don't need to make massive, sweeping changes. Sometimes, just shaving a few cents off your costs or adding a single dollar to your price can have a huge impact when you multiply that across hundreds or thousands of sales.
So, let's wrap this up. What are the key takeaways here? First, high sales do not guarantee profit. Second, your profit margin is your ultimate financial health checker. And finally, you have to use it to make smarter decisions on your pricing and products. It's time to eliminate that guesswork for good.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Now that you have this tool, what's the very first step? Think about your business right now. What is the one product? Maybe it's your best seller, maybe it's one you've just always been a little unsure about. What's the one product you need to run the numbers on first? Go find out. Thanks for joining me.